Hello, we're back with the Twits. We are up to chapter 27 and it's called The Twits Are Turned Upside Down. Now last time, I don't know if you can remember, they'd just come back from going out to buy their shotguns, hadn't they? So it was the ravens swoop over and they had just put all of the sticky glue onto the Twits' heads. Do you remember when all the monkeys and the birds had put glue all in their house and stuck everything to the ceiling? So, here we go. "What's this?" gasped Mr. Twit as they entered the living room. "What's happened?" screamed Mrs. Twit. They stood in the middle of the room looking up. All the furniture, the big table, the chairs, the sofa, the lamps, the little side table, the cabinet with bottles of beer in it, the ornaments, the electric fire, the carpet, everything was stuck upside down onto the ceiling. The pictures were upside down on the walls, and the floor they were standing on was absolutely bare. What's more, it had been painted white to look like the ceiling. So very clever, aren't they, these animals? "Look!" screamed Mrs. Twit. Sorry, I lost where I was then. "Look!" screamed Mrs. Twit. "That's the floor. The floor's up there. This is the ceiling. We're standing on the ceiling." "Oh, we're upside down," gasped Mr. Twit. "We must be upside down. We're standing on the ceiling looking at the floor." "Oh, help!" screamed Mrs. Twit. "Help, help, help! Oh, I'm beginning to feel giddy." So am I, cried Mr. Twit. "I don't like this one bit. We're upside down and all the blood's going to my head," screamed Mrs. Twit. "If we don't do something quickly, I shall die. I know it." I don't know if you've ever done that, stood up on your head. All the blood rushes all to your head, doesn't it? Makes you go red. There they are, thinking that they're upside down. "I've got it," cried Mr. Twit. "I know what we'll do. We'll stand on our heads. Then anyway, we'll be the right way up." So they stood on their heads. And of course, the moment the tops of their heads touched the floor, the sticky glue that the ravens had brushed on just a few moments before did its job. They were stuck. They were pinned down, cemented, glued, fixed to the floorboards. Through a crack in the door, the monkeys watched. They jumped right out of their cage the moment the Twits had gone inside, and the roly-poly bird watched. And all the other birds flew in and out to catch a glimpse of this extraordinary sight. There they are, on their heads, with that really sticky glue. Chapter 28, The Monkeys Escape. That evening, Mugglewump and his family went up to the big wood on the top of the hill. And in the tallest tree of all, they built a marvellous tree house. All the birds, especially the big ones, the crows, the rooks and the magpies, made their nests around the tree house so that nobody could see it from the ground. "You can't stay up here forever, you know," said the roly-poly bird. "Why not?" said Mugglewump. "It's a lovely place." "Just you wait till the winter comes," said the roly-poly bird. "Monkeys don't like cold weather, do they?" That's a lovely looking tree house, isn't it? "They most certainly don't," cried Mugglewump. "All the winters are so very cold over here." "It's snow and ice," said the roly-poly bird. "Sometimes it's so cold a bird will wake up in the morning with its feet frozen to the bough that he's been roosting on." "Oh, then what shall we do?" cried Mugglewump. "My family will all be deep freezed." "No, they won't," said the roly-poly bird, "because when the first leaves start falling from the trees in autumn, you can all fly home to Africa with me." "Don't be ridiculous," Mugglewump said. "Monkeys can't fly." "You can sit on my back," said the roly-poly bird. "I shall take you one at a time. You will travel by the roly-poly superjet, and it won't cost you a penny." Chapter 29, The Twits Get the Shrinks. And down here in the horrid house, Mr. and Mrs. Twit are still stuck upside down on the floor of the living room. "It's your fault," yelled Mr. Twit, thrashing his legs in the air. "You're the one, you ugly old cow, who went hopping around shouting, 'We're upside down, we're upside down.'" Oh, it's not a very nice thing to say, is it? And you're the one who said to stand on our heads, so we'll be the right way up, you whiskery old warthog, screamed Mrs. Twit. Now we'll never get free, we're stuck here forever. You may be stuck here forever, said Mr. Twit, but not me, I'm going to get away. Mr. Twit wriggled and squirmed, and he squiggled and wormed, and he twisted and turned, and he troggled and churned. But the sticky glue held him to the floor just as tightly as it had once held the poor birds in the big dead tree. He was still as upside down as ever, standing on his head. But heads are not made to be stood upon. If you stand on your head for a very long time, a horrid thing happens, and this was where Mr. Twit got his biggest shock of all. With so much weight on it from up above, his head began to get squashed into his body. Quite soon it had disappeared completely, sunk out of sight into the fatty folds of his flabby neck. I'm shrinking, blurbled Mr. Twit. So am I, cried Mrs. Twit. Help me, save me, call a doctor, yelled Mr. Twit. I'm getting the dreaded shrinks. And so he was. Mrs. Twit was getting the dreaded shrinks too. And this time, it wasn't fake, it was the real thing. Their heads shrank into their necks began shrinking into their bodies began shrinking into their legs, and their legs began shrinking into their feet. And 1 week later, on a nice sunny afternoon, a man called Fred came round to read the gas meter. When nobody answered the door, Fred peeped into the house, and there he saw on the floor of the living room 2 bundles of old clothes, 2 pairs of shoes, and a walking stick. There was nothing more left in this world of Mr. and Mrs. Twit, and everyone, including Fred, shouted, "Hooray!" They weren't very nice people, were they? And there we go, that is the end of the Twits. Thank you for listening.